Ooh, it's Umineko. We're probably gonna read for like an hour because I've been going to bed very late every day. I'd want to die. So let's just start.
I'm gonna be listening to math in the background. 6/4.
Alright, so if I remember, we were starting to talk about the main story. So we're talking about the inheritance. And it appears Aunt Natsuhi really doesn't want to talk about it because Kinzo's not dead. And everybody's like, bro, we gotta talk about this before he dies.
I disagree. I think they're being dramatic and we should like not talk about it.
Yeah, I think you should talk about inheritance before you've been inherited by the earth. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll repeat.
He said that 10 times.
Yeah, I feel like I've read this. It'll be a repeat of the Korean War demands, in the time during which father revived the Ushiromiya family. Because the people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving vast economic growth, and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that can be capitalized on that fact. 3 kinds of electrical appliances no longer represent the people's needs. People need security. Bro, we've read this. Did I like load the wrong save?
Yeah. Well, we have like 10 of the same saves.
I can't do math. I thought that. Alright. Perfect, we're here.
Nissan! You've been starting to resort to projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon boom. But all of them will continue to fail. Well, I'm sure You then panicked. With a wood burner. If your nose was really so reliable, then there should be no reason for you to sell off your property. This is proof that you mistrust your own ability. How rude. Are you trying to insult my husband? We also read this part.
Oh, this is new.
No,
he's been insulted a bunch in the past 20 minutes.
So it's the same lines, like the same thing over and over again.
Aunt Natsuhi's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Ava, playing this no heed, stared at Cross with a confident smile. Kraus. I still change it every fucking time I say his name. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down. Please stop, Natsuhi. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little, or your headache will get worse.
There's proof that your lack of talent right next to us. After all, were you all excited about turning this island into a resort? You built a wonderful resort and beautifully maintained garden. I'm just hello. Oh my god, thank you. The churro. Okay, thank you. Okay, well. Sorry, someone in my room. They gave me a churro.
Oh, a churro.
I know. I was gonna say something vaguely not okay. Probably insensitive. Anyway.
It's gonna be a racist.
You're the one who said that. I wasn't the one who said that.
Whoa. It's not very woke of you.
It's because you're Hispanic. I was gonna ask if you like know anything about, but then I was like, wait, you're Peruvian. That's like I don't actually think that's like related.
It's true,
But
we do
it's like,
not.
yeah, I feel like it is. The most things I know about Peru is like is the stuff I read and like the what's in you know Geronimo Stiltskin books with the rats, but like there were girls.
No.
Thea Stilton. Okay, well, also the South Park episode when Craig was
Oh
like
yeah.
Peruvian. Yeah, that's like that's like real. Anyways.
You're lying.
I'm not racist. Anyways, I'm just an amateur and don't want to pretend to understand, but you must use this significant money for that, right? And what is that to you? Huh? My husband's business is none of yours.
She is so pretty.
Actually, that's not true, Nazi-san. Wakijima doesn't belong to Aniki. It belongs to Dad. Of course, the hotel does belong to Aniki, right? In fact, we'd be more willing to pay for the lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa?
Well, if what I have on hand will suffice. Man, she's broke as hell. If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. I don't know who the fuck's gonna stay at an island resort in this tiny ass island, like, in fuck ass nowhere.
No, especially because,
like, what do you... I guess if you are so rich, you want a private island for a weekend. But then what do you need a hotel for? Like, obviously there needs to be a lot of rich people there.
but like,
Unless
there's
you
like
get the whole
no
hotel.
nothing to see in this island either.
Yeah, there's no tourist history. This guy's stupid. This would be a terrible business decision. Don't give him this fucking island. This isn't Hawaii. This is a singular island.
Like, it looks nice, but that's probably because, like, you know.
Like, I feel like if you want a place like this, like you go on vacation to the Bahamas or something in the Caribbean, you go there because there's other people there, and there's a culture there, and there's restaurants and, you know, statues, other landmarks to see. It's not just because the island's beautiful. Like, there's man-made stuff there that's cool to look at. So, like, investing in a hotel into this island sounds so fucking stupid.
Yeah, we should be rich.
And I know there's a boat, like, another place, but that sounds pretty inconvenient. A boat back to your hotel. I guess, like, they technically do that because Jessica and her family lives here, but...
I mean, but also, like, they've also mentioned, like, how, like, if the dad were to, like, have a sudden, like, you know, like, he collapsed suddenly, they can't really take him to the hospital in, like, a timely manner. So, like,
that's true.
Scary.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, I would not want to be here. But yeah, that's my take on it, guys.
It is true that expensive have piled up, but we cannot expect a large harvest. But we... Dude, I'm fucking... Oh, dude! I can't read. Oh my god.
Bro, I feel like this guy is, like, so good at acting confident is gonna be his downfall, because he's gonna fuck everyone over.
My downfall is that I'm fucking dyslexic, and I read canon can't wrong every time.
I'm doing math right now, and I want to cry because I hate math.
When that happens, all of you will stand to profit as well, won't you? You got this.
I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that'll increase our proportion. Where fucking fuck, I'm dyslexic. It's true for the inheritance. Of course I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. You can just resolve the matter with money. It's the value of the property.
Yeah, this is kind of related to, like, what I'm learning.
Yeah, you know, you can be, this is gonna make you a real estate whiz.
Holy shit. Alright, class. By next week, you have to have read 10 hours of Umineko.
Honestly, like, I don't think if I had to read Umineko for like school, I'd hate this so much. Cause it's so long. you know? No offense. It's just really long.
If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied?
We aren't dissatisfied. We're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan to open that hotel? Left this way, you won't get out except for grubby handprints, right? Anything fucking Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it. What's 144 minus 25?
144 minus 25?
Yes.
119?
19. Is it?
119?
119?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's 119.
You have to air out buildings, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, because like at least back in the day, right? I don't know how good their ventilation was.
True, maybe they're still building with fucking lead in a vest.
Maybe.
The ceiling popcorn.
Oh my god, I'm so goated at math.
Let's go.
This took me like so long. Even if this is so extravagant for a guest house, we only use it once a year. Right, Rosa?
That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it will become quite popular once you open it. Oh. So the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house. That's the hotel?
And it should not really feels kind of small. It's London. Just as Rosa said, if you were to open it, I'm sure it would become popular. Why? No.
The lodging they had been guided to wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. Also, I forgot to mention, I did change my audio a little bit, so now I'm going to rewatch this on stream, and hopefully all my S sounds, S, and T sounds is like less grating on the ear. That was the worst part about my audio, is how I don't know why I had it boosted so that my S sounds were louder. I might have been stupid, but hopefully it doesn't hurt as much now to listen to. The lodging they had been guided to... Oh yeah, I read that. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening.
Nissan, it's just like all your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous.
Wrote.
Before you have a chance to earn any profit. You're brilliant when you saw that using this island as as a place to live was a waste.
I just realized the music changed at some point.
Oh my god.
When I heard the drums, I was like, wait, that's new.
Oh, where's the violin? I think that was a pretty good plan.
It's a honeymoon. I don't know about the others. Unless, maybe.
Wait, but if you're on a honeymoon and you're like the only people there, there's like, I mean, how common is it? Yeah, how likely are you gonna book like a honeymoon at a resort at a, like a island? It's not gonna be a private island because it's a resort, right? So there's gonna be other people there, and there's still nothing to see. You're basically just paying for the resort.
Maybe they would use up most. Maybe they would open up some of the forest to build stuff around. That's the only way I could see it being a good place to profit off of.
But they haven't mentioned anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They haven't talked about claiming any of the uninhabited areas still. But it's still their property, they just haven't done it.
Yeah, the witch lives there.
That's true.
If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I'd restrain my brain, looking for a way to make a profit off this island. Yeah, they finished building. Okay. 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right? After 2 years, still haven't had an opportunity to open it. Where's the management company you entrusted it to?
Property manager. Oh my goodness. I know these terms.
Where are the victims here? I read the last line.
Yeah, I was like, and yet, the rumors we've heard about this company you hired haven't been good at all.
Let's be clear about this, dear. You don't really think we wouldn't care about how the lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led into the project disintegrating mid-flight. We even have other than. What kind of evidence you found? No, it's all baseless. Necessary for the rest of the groundwork with various people. Important for us to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. It has merely taken us some time to meet that goal.
I'll admit, in my rashness, the hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paid maintenance costs. The foundation will eventually become immensely significant.
Liar. I bet you want to liquidate it, but you can't. After all, there's no reason for an empty... Perhaps... Yeah!
I fucking it. We're not stupid.
Oh
They were just making fun of him. They were like, oh, it would be such a great idea, you fucking idiot, to build a hotel here.
Anyways, what about the loans you made for this project? Exactly, he's in debt.
Even if you aren't incurring maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Cross Nissan, but I've investigated the development plan for this island a bit. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I could see how you might be left with that impression by looking only at the current financial situation. How is he so smug, bro? Everybody's calling you out. However, this is a forward-looking investment. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken, and that up until now, several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that I have lost up until this point. No, actually, all of the investments I have made until now will finally return to my possession. That's right. Just like throwing away a small fry which then becomes a salmon, it will come back even bigger than before. It's not about French fries. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before long, though I don't know if it'll be enough to cover up all your debt. However, Cross Nissan, after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with funding? And this isn't some small amount we're talking about. You'll need enough funding to fill a massive hole you've dug.
What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Exactly what he said.
Natsuhi, don't get angry. We've looked into this too. We checked to see who might have provided Cross Nissan with enough finance to support his recent large-scale projects despite his string of failures.
Okay.
They all investigate this together?
And we discovered, yeah. What? No such records. The iron rule about the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Aniki, you're fairly known a loser in this field. Oh, bet against the loser. I'm sure questions are about to come, but when we looked for people considered enough to overlook your string of failures, and even also had enough for the investment, there were no candidates. But what about Tenichi? So the big question now is where you got that money from.
Oh, haven't you heard of printing money? Now this is intriguing. Oh, now isn't this intriguing? And?
Dear. How long are you gonna have those ridiculous remarks stand? Damn, this girl is like literally like every time she says something, they're like silence, wench. Sit down. Let's get to the point. Aniki, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own business. Dang, really? There's pretty much no room for doubt.
I hate that it took 6 hours for the game to get interesting. Like the first good conversation or scene they've had.
If you think we made some kind of mistake, please feel free to explain. Rudolph? Don't call it This is embezzlement, plain and simple. Huge crime that can be punished and prosecuted criminally. This sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face the real sister with the Ushimi family and level absurd accusations? God, they would be great politicians with how much denial and confidence they have.
He's like, but I didn't do that.
He's like, he reminds me of another blonde fellow. They aren't absurd, but right on the mark. I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt cut keeps getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble by making an even bigger one. It's only natural that he'd try to grab any source of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nissan. What you're doing is embezzlement. You're betraying father. And you know how the courts settle this after it's all over. Do you think the kind of person has any right to call themselves successor of the Ushiwiri head? Of all you dare to claim that you betrayed the family head? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushiwiri family! Rosh. Leave at this once! Leave this out, fucking please, fuck now! Get out!
Natsuhi, who had finally reached her limits. Oh my god. Natsuhi, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in rage. He then pointed alternately at Eva in the hallway. You leave. Get out of here. Demanding that she leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned herself a fit, glaring maliciously at Natsuhi, as though silently daring her to repeat what she'd said. However, her mouth was smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Gulp?
Gulp? Hey, Natsuhine-san. To whom do you think you're speaking in such a tone? I'm speaking to an exceedingly rude sister of my husband. As the person in charge of the Main's family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this.
He's only in charge of the kitchen?
Yeah.
Not quite the title. He pointed that out.
In charge of the kitchen.
Like maybe if you were in charge of the house, but only the kitchen?
In charge of the kitchen?
Doesn't say why.
Be silent. Lowly maidservant.
Ava folded the fan with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she had shown until a second ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive.
You're foolish. Stand down. For Ava of the Ushiromiya family. The third ranked in the Ushiromiya family hierarchy, and the one allowed to sit left of the shoulder of the head. Know your place. And then look at your shabby self in the mirror. Where's the symbol of the wing on your clothes? Oh, you brought it up. Where were you permitted to wear a one eagle wing? A one eagle.
One winged eagle.
Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed womb to the house next to the successor of the Ushiromiya family?
Wait, it's not a seagull, it's an eagle.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
they're not wearing umis.
They're not wearing uminekos. Understand your place, you damn bitch. Understand your place. Thanks to the common house, you let the
Ava's face twisted hideously as her words gouged into Natsuhi's heart like talons wrenching at it. There were 100 ways Natsuhi wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of the words were able to make it out of her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go and became a silent... fucking losing it. And became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. Ew! It's terrifying.
What's wrong? You have something to say. Please say so.
And that's when Natsuhi drops the bomb. She's like, kill
Kill yourself. Oh, man.
Ava faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuhi could do nothing but tremble, her clenched fists quivering. Frost quietly broke that powdered keg tension. Natsuhi, leave your seat. You should go cool your head.
What?
Natsuhi, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack.
Dear, don't you understand what they've been saying about you? These people are baselessly calling you a traitor, a father! They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushiromiya family, even though we're constantly expending every effort to guard that glory from father!
I don't know if it's intentional, but I feel like this is the first time we've had a dialogue box with more than 4 lines. I feel like that's adding to her tension.
They trampled underfoot of their hateful rambling, and you don't even try to fight back. Why? I'm only standing up for us because you won't. But you've been putting the entire burden on me. The fucking can't fucking read, bitch. Now you're telling me to go on my head? It's always me. Even though I've always considered the family's affairs so seriously. You!
The perfect time to come. Natsuhi was already unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Cross shrugged his shoulders slightly.
Oh, he's an ass.
I apologize for my bitch wife.
Oh, you're an
She has
ass.
always been bad at controlling her emotions. How could you be so rude to her? Natsuhi is so beautiful.
Bro.
Oh, she is so pretty. He's so ugly.
Okay, but better than a female, in your opinion.
I mean, a MILF? Hard to beat. It's just been rough for me. My one true love.
If that's what's been managing your household, you must suffer to no end, Nissan.
I feel bad
me,
for
me,
her.
me when math.
Madam!
It's nothing.
Natsuhi flew into her room and threw herself onto her bed, lamenting.
Memento.
Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa-san in the hallway. There was no sound there. I just added that.
You're so Nihongo.
Poor Madam Natsuhi. There is a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very trying for me as a woman. Thank you for... Is she the fucking soliloquy person? Like, what is... The Ushiromiya family holds blood in high regard. But if a woman marries and leaves the family, they are normally removed from the family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Eva-sama should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there's no one deserving of blame in this matter. The madam certainly bears no guilt. There's nothing to call of it other than a whim of God. Cross-sama and Natsuhi-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this is the male-dominated Ushiromiya family. A wife is merely a tool to create an heir. So, if she didn't keep her last name, she would have a higher ranking than her. Ooh. Eddie. I wonder if she knew of Natsuhi. I wonder what the order they got married. That'd be crazy if she got married second. It was like, I'm not gonna be below you, so I'm gonna keep my last name.
That would be interesting. I don't know. This is confusing. I'm trying to.
I feel like that would be cool to know. Wife is yep. If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she will not even be treated as a human. It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madam during that time. Back then, just like probably berating her for not being pregnant. Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being discussed. Oh, did she really do that? Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madam's inability to become pregnant, he gained the favor of the master. He inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushiromiya register. There was a vast difference in the Ushiromiya hierarchy between Madam, who married into the Ushiromiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushiromiya name. Furthermore, Eva-sama actually gave birth first into a boy. And for how much... Yeah, for George. And as for how much weaker Madam's position was than Eva-sama's, well, I believe you could see it for her yourself. It's almost like... basically just made her irrelevant. I'm sure Madam is tormented by that thought. If only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage. And Eva-sama wouldn't have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that is not Madam's fault. All the blame lies of God's whims in the stork that delivered Jessica late. Even so, Madam won't allow herself to see things that way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as a woman, and at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. Oh, how sad. Not do anything except watch over her from the shadows. So she didn't do it out of spite, she did it out of power. We just rewind? We did. We went back like 30 minutes. We crossed the hall again on our way to the entrance. As we did, we once again spotted that witch's portrait. Or spotted is probably not the best word to describe that experience. It was more like our eyes were inexorably drawn to it. That woman's eyes, with their sage-like glamour, definitely had the power to make those who viewed it stand rooted to the spot.
So this is the witch, Beatrice. Wonder if the story's true. Batara doesn't believe?
That's this song again. Back when he had asked what the picture was, the first person to tell him had been Maria. Therefore, and suddenly we're not Battler here. Therefore, when Battler showed signs of doubt, Maria must have felt that Battler didn't have faith in her. Of course, that wasn't what Battler meant. Maria ran up to the portrait and began banging on the plate hanging below. Maybe the title of the portrait was written there. Maria, trying to prove that she wasn't lying, obstinately continued to hit the plate.
Sorry about that. It's not like I doubt anything you said, Maria. Batara believes!
When he patted Maria's head and apologized, she seemed to accept it, sticking out her chest and proudly ooh-oohing. Ooh.
Ooh. What's this? My beloved witch. Beatrice. Behold the sweet fish river. What's with this weird huge epitaph?
The plate did have the title of the portrait written on it, but it was much too big to contain only that. Beneath that title was what appeared to be a long epitaph. If you just skimmed over it, several unnerving words would jump out at you. Incredible, isn't it? Grandfather had that made. Pretty deep, huh? Oop.
Oh fuck. Oh, it's the place of the gardens. Wait, is it a story where the Umineko family's hidden gold? Now, that's another thing I remember from long ago. Hold on. Aniki, is this for real?
Grandfather had that made, but he never said anything about this picture on the epitaph. Even so, amongst the family, it is often whispered that it indicates the location of grandfather's hidden gold, and that he will relinquish the inheritance in the gold to that person which solves the riddle.
I heard that too! I heard it too! Lots and lots of gold!
Well, something like that. Something like 10 metric tons of gold bars. I think it's fake though.
Still, when you read about it in an epitaph like this, it almost seems real.
I think I already explained grandfather's upbringing, but let me also mention the Ushiramiya family's legend of the gold. Grandfather succeeded the Ushiramiya family after it was destroyed in the Great Kanto earthquake, and by successfully riding the stormy seas after the war, he managed to accumulate great wealth. That much of the story everyone knows. However, this is where the strange part begins. Part of it involves grandfather's black magic obsession, so its credibility is extremely low, but, well, wait until the end before you doubt or make fun of it. After the war, grandfather correctly predicted what the future would hold and won a huge gamble, accumulating a vast store of wealth. There was a mysterious legend about how he gained his initial funding. Grandfather came from a branch and had no connections to the business world or the financial world. Even though he later built connections with the occupying forces, he supposedly started as a nameless person who hadn't yet gained anyone's trust. It takes trust to gather money. There's no way anyone would lend money to someone they didn't trust. So how did grandfather, who had no reputation at all, managed to obtain his first vast chunk of funds. When asked that question, grandfather supposedly answered like this. On a certain day, I encountered the golden witch Beatrice. Grandfather then went on and on about his continuing research into alchemy and techniques for summoning demons in order to become a great magician. And the entity summoned as a result of the demon calling ceremony was the golden witch Beatrice. He then apparently made a contract by which he would receive fortune and honor in exchange for his own soul. The witch then granted grandfather 10 tons of gold. Grandfather used his gold as collateral to prepare a vast quantity of funds, which he then used to multiply his wealth many times over and revive the Ushiromiya family. Seems this story is so old that even our parents were told it was... What? It seems the story is so old that even our parents were told it when they were still children. So back when our parents were young, they explored this island in all sorts of ways, believing that the gold grandfather had received from the witch might be hidden somewhere. However, since there was the danger of them getting lost in the abandoned forest, grandmother began to spread the story about the witch who lived in the forest and that approaching it was forbidden.
I remember that old story. So basically, grandfather made a deal with the witch. When we were little, we also went all over the island searching for the treasure. After our parents told us about it. I was doing math. Wait, can you give me a summary?
What was that? Summary of the story? Basically, so to have gotten the initial bit of wealth for Kinzo to have made the family wealth, he supposedly studied magic and performed, I guess, like a ritual, and came into contact with the golden witch Beatrice, and they made a deal. In exchange for his own soul, he received 10 bars of gold, which I don't a lot. but whatever it is, he gave up his soul to her for exchange for that gold, and then using that gold, he managed to gamble. Well, not really gamble, but he got lucky and made the money and the fortune.
And then, like, grandma was like, "Don't go in the forest no more.
Yep.
It's dangerous." Did we get lost in the forest once and then start crying until some of the servants found us? Our parents got so mad. Dang, that really takes me back.
We sure were idiots, weren't we? After all, grandfather only bought this island after using those funds to get rich, right? That means he must have had the gold before coming here. There's no way the gold's on this. There's no way the gold's on this island. Not necessarily so. Maybe the gold was hidden on the island from the beginning, and he bought the whole island just to ensure that it'd be his and his alone. There was a whole 10 metric tons of it, right? I don't know why I thought 10 tons of... I thought it was 10 bars of gold. It was 10 tons of gold. That is so much more. What the fuck?
Well, how much is a ton again?
Like a car?
A
Car might be like a couple tons. I don't know.
A couple tons.
Hey Siri, how much does a car weigh?
Well, you have to ask how many tons a car weighs.
Hey Siri, how many pounds in a ton? Yeah. Oh, I was kind of right. It's about 2 tons is like a car. So that's like 5 cars. 5 cars of gold in terms of weight.
5 cars. Man, that's pretty good. Probably. I don't really know. I'm not smart.
I mean, it's definitely a lot. But I don't know, I envisioned 10 bars. I must have misread it. It was 10 tons. Holy fuck.
It's okay.
Oh.
I have no excuse. Oh, he's talking.
Yeah.
This epitaph was made 2 years ago, and since grandfather wrote it himself, yeah, it does make the legend of the gold seem more believable. Skibbity dibbity sigma, skibbity gibbity sigma, yeah.
じいさまはこの謎を解けたやつに全部を譲ろうって
お父様だばだば
そういうつ
キ
もり
ュー
なのかしらね
キューキューキューHe did it.
Was that your line, Val?
There's so much. That's the so-called witch's gold that reviewed the Uchinomiya family weighed 10 tons. Maybe that's sleeping somewhere, ready to be turned over to whoever can solve grandfather's riddle. Maybe that's why he hid it.
じいさまらしいセンスというかなんという
Guess that sounds
か
like grandfather's style or something.
マジならなんとも景気のいい話だぜ
The epitaph carved into the play was very mysterious. Huh?
My ass hurts right now.
With something like a poem or a song written on it. That text was incredibly disturbing, both the signs of grandfather's black magic hobby, and its contents were in truly bad taste. But it could definitely be viewed as a puzzle, which, if solved, might lead to hidden gold. I wonder if my mic can pick up the raindrops hitting my window. Whether that's what he intended or not, I can't even imagine what his true motive might have been. All I know for sure is that grandfather put this shady epitaph here so that everybody in the family could see it. We also know that he's hinted at the existence of the gold without ever talking about where it might be hidden, at least so far. And these facts that were embellished by the imagination of our parents, who were convinced that grandfather was challenging us to a battle of wit. Sounds just like my dad, so greedy that he takes something like this so seriously. You may laugh at grandfather's black magic obsession, but he'd still believe the story about the hidden gold. Just sounds so good. Well, it's certainly not a realistic story. At that time, when grandfather was still nameless and had no connection, there was no way anyone would just lend him a massive quantity of gold bars for free. If such a person did exist, it's not unthinkable that grandfather would call such a sponsor a witch.
For it's 10 tons! 10 tons! If you cash that in, how much would it come to? I mean, it'd have to be a ridiculous amount, right?
Certainly would be a ridiculous amount. They say that the total amount of gold mined to the humankind since the dawn of history is 100,000 metric tons at most. That one of 10,000 of all the gold that humankind has attained throughout the history should belong to just one this is such a weird sentence. Maybe I'm just reading it terribly wrong. But it's crazy to think that one person has obtained one of 10,000 of the total gold humankind has ever. It's such a fucking. I can't even paraphrase it shorter. On top of that, this witch supposedly had all the gold collected in one place, was able to lend to grandfather just like that. Not talking about just any ordinary person. Well, to me, that 10 tons number certainly sounds pretty fishy. After all, no one's actually seen it except for grandfather, right? Even if we assume that some generous witch existed and lent him some gold, maybe it was closer to 10 kilograms than 10 tons. Even 10 kilograms would be a pretty significant sum, right? Ooh.
10 kilograms of how much gold?
Maria, who wasn't following the story and felt like she was being spoken to in riddles, finally found a place where she could ask us a question. But the question I also wanted answered right then. Whether it was 10 kilograms or 10 tons, it still felt like a huge amount, but I have no idea how huge. Aniki folded his arms and tried to remember the market price of gold. Well, even the value of gold is affected by the market, and the value of physical gold can change depending on its purity and trustworthiness of the foundry. You'd also need to pay a handling fee to cash it in. However, that doesn't change the fact that it's a precious metal. Some people estimate that humanity will mine all the world's gold within half a century of gold mining continues at its current rate. Just guessing haphazardly, I think you can expect a price of about 2 million yen per kilogram. Whoa! Just now I randomly said 10 kilogram. 10 gorilla gram.
Gorilla gram.
10 kilograms. But it sounded smaller. And even that would be worth 200 million yen?
I weigh 28 kilograms.
Which means that if we had Maria-chan's weight in gold, we could make an estimate that it's worth over 50 million yen.
That's just unbelievable. How much would 10 tons be then? 10 kilograms is, I can't, 20 million yen? Which you multiply by 1,000, so, 20 billion yen?
Hey Siri, convert 20 billion Japanese yen to US dollars.
That's like, get rid of like 2 zeros. It's like the rough estimate.
Ooh. Well, by today's standard, it's 134 million. Sorry, 134,000 mil. Am I reading that right? It was 134 million.
Right?
It was worth more back then, obviously, yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I'll take it.
There probably wasn't even a billionaire back then, so that's probably like as rich as you could be. How much is 20 billion yen actually worth? Please don't do the math for me here. I just like
We
you can only
and the
narrator. The narrator. Anyway, let's say that person's wages over a lifetime are about 200 million yen. You grow up and work like crazy, sacrificing your life for your company, and you're finally freed as you approach old age. Everything including retirement money might just add up to about 200 million yen. In other words, that's the amount of money that'll be made throughout the human's life. No, you could even call it the value of life. 100 times that sum is an unbelievable amount of money. If you work from age 20 to 60, that's 40 years of work. So it's equal to 4,000 years of work wages. To work every day starting from the Jomon period, you'd only reach that number just about now. Ooh.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Maria, you love shortcake, right? You can buy as much shortcake you could possibly eat for the rest of your life.
However, while that might be possible with 20 billion yen in cash, I don't think it'd be very realistic to have much in gold bars in one place. This is, I said, gold is extremely heavy, though it isn't exactly convenient as a method of storing wealth. Sure, you could imagine someone gathering their fortune together as incredibly high-value stocks or precious gems. Often hear people who traded their wealth for precious gems so that they could carry it around them during the chaotic times of war. But you don't usually hear stories about people exchanging their wealth for gold. Maybe heavy, but it's the most trusted and stable form of wealth internationally, so maybe that was important? For example, bonds are just scraps of paper if the whole country goes under. You can also look at it like that way. But even 1 kilogram ingot is pretty heavy to carry around. Even one 10 kilogram ingot pretty heavy to carry around. Haven't you heard? A 50 kilogram person can't carry a 50 kilogram bag over their shoulder. That many gold bars, the amount of labor and risk for one person would be too hard to calculate.
So what you're saying is, well, it'd be one thing if we had stacked banknotes worth 10 million billion yen. 20 billion, but what the fuck? 20 billion yen. 20 billion yen in gold would be such a big mountain that's practically kind of pointless.
Yeah, that's right. Although the legend of gold does have a pretty interesting ring to it. Just the part about 10 tons of gold makes it pretty much impossible. Think about it logically like that, it sounds obviously fake.
Brother, you're gonna get killed because it's like you didn't believe in the witch.
Kinda brings you down back to reality. Anyway, that's grandfather for you. Maybe you exaggerate the story of how some kind of wealthy person gave him a loan by saying he got 10 tons of gold from a witch. Even the number 10 tons feels pretty symbolic.
You mean, like his gratitude for money he borrowed was worth turning to fucking what? 10 tons of gold or something.
Maybe some rich man's leisured wife generously granted it to grandfather, and maybe he started calling that person a witch. I see. Just because example isn't bad, someone who generously lent a huge sum of money to grandfather when he still had no reputation might as well be called a witch. Furthermore, grandfather actually did use that money to build a vast amount of wealth later on. The fact that this person was so great at judging people might also justify calling her a witch. Also, she went through the trouble of lending all that money. She might have enthusiastically overseen how it was spent. The decision to unexpectedly get involved with the occupying forces and profit from the Korean War demands might have been inspired by the witch herself. That might explain why he claimed to have received both wealth and honor from her. Naruhodo. You mean?
See? So in other words, this witch lent grandfather the funds necessary to revive the Ushiromiya family, and he owed her big time. It's big. And then yeah, he felt so grateful that he had to keep huge painting displayed. Yeah, that's not a totally crazy story.
It's even possible this person was an old granny who looked like a witch. Maybe, shit, got my phone. Maybe grandfather idolized her and that's why he had her drawn to look so beautiful. I'll bet if we ever did meet this person, she wouldn't nearly be that pretty. That's possible. The name Beatrice sounds pretty Western, but if you think about how everyone in our family has Western names, maybe even the name Beatrice, result of grandfather trying to rearrange some Japanese person's name to make it sound Western.
Yeah, I get it. That means this pretty girl doesn't exist outside this picture. Guess that means I won't be able to rub those delicate breasts. Okay. In the first place, isn't having a wish pretty bizarre in itself? Like you could find something like that anywhere on Earth.
I laughed and made fun of the witch, trying to distinguish myself from the kid I was 6 years ago who feared the witch in the forest. When Maria had tugged on my sleeve, I could tell by how hard she pulled that she was a bit upset.
What is it, Maria? Oh shit, she's shitting her pants. Beatrice exists!
Maria stared up at me. She had her usual sour look, but I could tell she was angry by the color of her eyes. What?
What?
Did they change?
Witches exist! Witches exist!
Does she always have purple eyes?
Yes.
I guess she did.
They just, I don't know what they mean her eyes changed color. Well, sure, they do exist if we turn on the TV on and watch anime or something. Anime? Exist! Witches exist!
started getting impatient, not knowing why Maria jumped on me like this. Then Jessica tapped on my shoulder and whispered, "She's stop, isn't Santa?" Mass, you're smashing a kid's dream. Maria really believes things like witches and Beatrice's work exist. Trying to think about it. Maria-chan in social studies in your school. When you were asked when you were asked to write what you wanted to be when you grew up, you wrote a witch, didn't you? Maria nodded seriously. Tears started to run from the corner of her eyes. I see. You're a girl who wants to become a witch in the future. The existence of Beatrice was proof that witches do exist in the world, and therefore was an image she yearned after and admired.
Exist! Witches exist! Barrett doesn't believe!
It's okay, witches do exist. I believe it. George Aniki kneeled down and hugged Maria's head. Watching this, Jessica poked my side. That's what this is. Like shouting that Santa Claus doesn't exist in front of a child who believes it. Who believes in him on Christmas Eve. I'm not the kind of guy who likes to shatter a kid's dreams.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of your dreams, so I apologize. Beatrice does exist. Even now, she's living in the forest and comes to the mansion every night to peek in and see what everyone's doing. So, you shouldn't go in the forest. At night, you mustn't stare into the dark forest. You might be seeing the witch of the forest, Beatrice. After all, grandmother said so. Really? Butler really believes? You should start believing. Yep, I believe. Sorry for doubting it.
Do you believe in the witch?
Do you believe in love after love?
I stuck my hand out and Maria grabbed it with her tiny hand and we made up. Maria didn't grumble any more than that, so George Aniki and Jessica were relieved. Okay, we should probably stop. I should go to bed.
Okay, but the story is getting better.
Yeah, finally. I knew, like, there's a reason why the Steam page starts with that in the description. Because the game should have, like, started much closer to the conversation. Like, was there really anything that important in the beginning? I mean, it kind of introduced all the characters, but, like,
I don't think it was that.
God, there was so much. Like, they could have at least made all of those scenes shorter. They could have kept all those scenes, just make them shorter.
I don't need to hear him talk about titties like that.
It's very important to his character because he has said it multiple times, therefore it needs to be repeated more.
Also, Maria having to, like, repeat everything. It's just like, it takes a long time, you know? It's like, better to simplify, in my opinion, just to keep engaged. So there's a witch in the forest and they're all gonna die. Lovely.
Really is the prettiest.
Bruh.
Well, that's a good place to stop, I think. So, bro, that's not the fucking... You got an exam to take tomorrow.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I got class tomorrow, so I have time after class again. So, if you are interested in that. The story is starting to pick up. Ooh, ooh. That's enough Umi for tonight. Goodbye.